Lads, it has been a very long time. But in the Spotlight series, we have an open event, which is for the 911 GT3 RS, the 2016 model at the max PI of 800, which is S-Class. And we've got a mixture of tight, twisty tracks like the VR circuit, but also a more speed-related track like Watkins Glen or the big oval with the chicane in. So you do have a lot of aspects that you need to consider when we're shooting this car, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing the more tight, twisty tracks, such as the VR circuit and the Nürburgring. So lads, the purpose of this video is to give you a good, decent grip tune that you can use and run in this Spotlight series without having the risk of terrible lift-off oversteer. Right, so kicking things off, this is the stock assessment. It's just the original lap that I set with the standard tune. Just pay attention to how the car behaves going into corners, coming out of corners. So coming into turn one here, we're late on the brakes and I fucked it. So yeah, it's obviously not a very good start. It's cold tyres, all that nonsense, but the reason for this is I want to show you how the car behaves straight off the bat. I don't want warm tyres. Basically, I just want a raw first fast lap. That's all I want. If I make mistakes, it just shows you how bad the car is standard, if that makes sense, and obviously more of an improvement once we've got it into the garage and put some mods on and made it better. Coming into this fast left corner now, I'm not even going to attempt to say that name, but this S, it's kind of stable. Lots of lift off oversteer there. I had to sort of correct myself, which is obviously not ideal whatsoever. Coming down this back straight here into this sort of 180-degree corner, this really does test the suspension out on the car. It's not too bad, but again, tons and tons of lift off oversteer. That can kind of be fixed with the suspension and the dampers and obviously the anti-roll bars. It was quite stable through here, quite nice. Unstable on the flick right, but going into that corner first, it was very, very good. Which to me, it just shouting that it's too soft. Far too soft. There's too much body roll and body weight getting flung about, making it very wishy-washy. Bit of oversteer coming into this right-hander early on the acceleration coming out, using all of the apex, and now we're going down the second back straight, should we say, just before the horrible chicane. Now this is going to be another deciding factor of how good it is on the upright braking. Again, miles wide, it's terrible on the straight line braking, not so much bad on the corner braking, trail braking, but straight line braking, it's absolutely atrocious. So coming into this right-hander now, again, the lift-off oversteer that we've mentioned throughout this lap, using all of the curb and more, and we're going to come down the finish line and cross the line with a 2 minutes and 9.8. Right lads, so here we are in the garage. We've finished tuning the Porsche, the 2016 Porsche. We obviously gave it a fresh paint, so we've gone for the matte grey and the yellow because it's guaranteed to make it at least 0.2 quicker. So the 911 GT3 RS in S-Class. What have I done? I've got the speed to 5.9, braking's at 5.9, the handling is 5.6, and the acceleration is 6.4. It's rear-engined, rear-wheel drive. It's got the 521 horsepower, 358 pounds of torque. It's got 2,899 pounds. And the weight distribution is 40.4% to the front and 59.6% to the rear. So hopping into this, let's go into the performance section, and we've stuck on the race ignition. Okay, there are probably other better mods that you can use, but I've opted for this due to the leveling up system that you have to do. The race flywheel, just to give it a little bit of a, we've got the race weight reduction, stock spring and dampers because it's already got them. The ballast don't really touch, likewise with the chassis reinforcement. Tyres, we've opted for the max front, but we've kept the rear stock. This is because I do think, because the engine's over the rear, you do actually get a lot of exit understeer. This kind of helps with that element of it, so hopefully we can get the power down and rotate the car opposed to going straight for the barriers. Rear tyre width, like I said, stock, and tyre compound, I've gone for the race. The wheels I've opted for this time are the Automotive TH2. I don't know how light or heavy they are. Well, they're not the lightest, obviously, but they're the ones that I chose because I think they really suit the looks of the car. Transmission, race transmission obviously, and the race differential as well. Clutch is stock, driveline is stock, and I've got the race front bumper and the rear bumper is also race 2, and then conversions and aspirations. That's all completely stock. So lads, with that element done, now let's hop on to the nitty gritty, the things that make it, well, a grip machine. So we're going to hop straight into the tyre pressure, 28.5 on the front and 33.5 on the rear. The reason for it is the front is extremely wide. It's not as wide as the rear, but the temperatures now on the tyres do read a very similar amount, and across the board it's a very even playing field, opposed to the middle being too high because it's overpressured. Gearing, I've just altered the ratio, I do believe. I've just knocked it down to 4.6. There's probably a better final drive and all of these as well, but I'm just not that bothered about the gearing. I think it works quite nice. You know, you can use third gear for the majority of the corners. So I run with that. Negative 1.7 front camber and negative 1.8 rear camber. Toes are 0. If you want a bit more oversteer, stick this to maybe 1, 0.2, but it's not necessary. And 7.0 caster on the front. Anti-roll bars 18.52, or as close as you can get, and 27.66. That just kind of helps with the body roll that the rear does get when it comes to shifting the weight from one side of the car to the other. Springs gone quite soft, 490.9 pounds on the front, 680.3 on the rear. Ride height 4.1 front and 5. It just helps it with them higher curbs on different tracks. Bump stiffness 3.4 front and 4.7 on the rear, and I've gone for 9.8 rebound on the front and 11.5 on the rear. This works well for me. It's got just the right amount of oversteer mid-corner, and I do believe it really does work and work with this car very, very well. Now this is where things get a bit funky and a bit crazy. Because of where the engine's situated, there's a lot of movement, okay? So the roll center ride height offset I've set at 5.1, and the rear is negative 0.1. Anti-dive front 50.1. Because I've got such a soft front end, I don't want the weight to be shoved forward. That's what will aid in the lift off oversteer, as well as the anti-squat. I've come for 109.3. So you'll see coming out of corners that you'll accelerate, but the back end will actually increase because it's shifting that weight forward to give you that extra bit of oversteer coming out the corners. Downforce, much to be desired. I've got 200 and 399. You can alter this how you please. You can take the aero completely off, you can max both the aeros out. It's personal preference of how stable and easy to drive you want the car. Braking force, this worked for me. I think that I could get a lot of turning, just enough where on heavy braking it wasn't stepping the back end out and making it unstable, and I've gone for 143% brake pressure because that's what I use. If you want it on 200, stick it on 200. If you want it on 100, stick it 100. Either will work. Acceleration 100 just to aid in that both tyres locking at the same time to give you that oversteer coming out of corners. And the decel is at 26%. Again, it just aids with that lift off oversteer because no matter how you tune this car, you're going to get it. There's a lot of weight over the back end of that car, and if you're turning, it's going to want to shift. Right guys, so that's all complete. Let's hop back into the Nürburgring with the upgraded setup and let's see what we can get. Right boys, we're off into this last right-hander coming down the straight. As you can tell straight away, look how much grip it's got. Just a little interior view for your troubles. Right, so like I say, it's one lap only. I'm on the medium compound just to make it a tiny bit fairer. We know it's going to be quicker, but just how much? Late on the brakes there. Little tyre lock, but as you can see, we made the corner only just. Kept it in second gear, fired it out into third to set us up for this left-hander now. I'm going to keep it in third gear, and as you can see, there's no lift-off oversteer. I've really opted to try and get rid of that lift-off oversteer because it's so annoying. Just going into a corner normally and then bang, the back end steps out, and it's so hard to grab without having to fully correct your line and alter your momentum. So down this little tiny straight here, as you can see, it's just firing through the gears, instant gear changes, down into third, and with this one I'm going to keep it into third, knock it down into second, just to try and get that extra bit of rotation and then bang it into third coming out of the corner, up into fourth, up into fifth. And again, this is a corner that does test the suspension. Let's see how it works. Late on the brakes, just made the apex perfectly. Bit of a trouble coming out of the corner, a tiny bit of understeer did throw me off course. Again, this is where it struggled here on the right. Full throttle, no issues whatsoever, super stable through the Schumacher S. And now into the Bilstein curve. This left-hander really does do me over. It's just a corner I really struggle with. And into this right-hander now. Let's try and get on the gas nice and early. Use all of the curves as much as possible. And now we're on the back straight. We're coming down to the back straight, and we had a nightmare, if you recall, coming into this, well, this very slow chicane. So I'm very late on the brake, risking it really, but as you can see, made it absolutely perfectly, no problems whatsoever, and use all of the curb here, coming into the final corner, again, extremely late on the brake, short shift down into second, back up into third, once I've got that rotation, fire it out, and now we're coming down the home straight. Let's have a look at exactly what time that we can get with the new build. This is the first time using it other than once I was tuning it, and we get a nice 2:03 3. So boys, the video's coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed this kind of format. It's something new to me. I actually really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was actually kind of fun to see how much the car improved. If you've got a car that you want to see tuned, please leave it in the comment section down below with the class that you're looking for. And yeah, other than that, lads, please like, comment and subscribe if you are brand spanking new. And other than that, let's stay tuned for more.